Hello children, today we'll start a new chapter of 10th science, that is light. So what we'll study first in this chapter, light, in this video. We'll cover what actually light is, then some of its properties and types of object on the basis how a light treats it, and then we'll start reflection. So let's start what light is. So light is a form of energy. Okay, which form of energy? It is that form of energy which makes things visible to us. Okay, that makes things visible to us. It means if we are able to see things around us, it's only because of light. Now, its properties now. So, the first and an important property of light is that it is an electromagnetic wave, or I can call it radiation. It's an electromagnetic radiation. Now, because of this, nature, it's electromagnetic in nature, and because of that, it is able to move without medium. Means no medium is required for light to travel. It means it can travel in vacuum. A very common example is before you, that on earth, if I say which is the abundant source of energy, so you will say it is sun. Okay, sun is the abundant source of light. Now, and we are having the sun's light, okay, on earth, but it's very far away from us. Okay, and we are having our atmosphere only up to few kilometers, and beyond that it's what? There's nothing beyond our atmosphere. Means there's vacuum there, and still we are getting light here. It means light is traveling through vacuum first and then entering our atmosphere. This proves that light travels in a vacuum also, right? So because of this, it can travel in vacuum, right? Means we can say that it doesn't need any medium to travel. It can travel in medium. It travels in air, it travels in water, it travels in sound, but it can travel without a medium also. Then second is that it tends to travel in a straight line. This we have studied in 6th class, that it travels in a straight line. So straight line, no need to prove it, because we did experiment regarding this to prove in 6th class also. Then it casts shadows. Whenever if a light is coming from this end, and if an object comes in its path. So whenever an object comes in the path of light, the path of light gets obstructed. There's a hindrance in the path of a light. This object is the hindrance in the path of a light. What will happen? It will cast a shadow of this behind this object. Okay, so whenever the path of light is obstructed, shadows are formed. And shadows of which object? The object that is an obstruction in the path of light. The shadow of that object will form in the direction opposite to that of light. Okay, so it casts shadows. Then what else? It means if I'll say the speed of light in vacuum, speed of light in vacuum is nearly equal to that of speed of light in air. So its speed in vacuum, which is nearly equal to that of air, is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meters per second. That's the speed of light in air. Okay, now we'll see what happens when it falls on any object. Okay, what happens when it strikes any object? Okay, so let's see. So when light strikes any object, okay, when light strikes any object, what happens? Either it may pass through it, right? It may pass through it completely, okay? Completely pass through it, or it will partially pass through it, partially passes through it, okay? Or it will not pass at all, okay? So on this basis, the objects through which light passes completely, such objects are called as transparent objects, okay? Transparent objects. And the objects through which light passes partially, they are called as translucent object. Translucent objects. And the objects through which light doesn't passes at all, such objects are called as opaque objects, okay? So what are opaque objects? Objects through which light, means through which light do not pass. What happens if an object on which light falls is an opaque object? If this is an opaque object, okay, it's not allowing light to pass through it. It's not allowing light to pass through it, but light is falling on it. What will happen? It will reflect back. So reflection, what is reflection? Reflection is bouncing back of light in the same medium from which it is coming. For example, this is stone, okay? This is stone and this is air. So light is coming through air and falling on the stone. But stone doesn't allow light to pass through it. What will happen? It will bounce back the light, okay? It will reflect back the light. In the same medium, air, it comes through air and it's going again back in the air. So this phenomena is called as reflection. What happens in this one? The object is transparent. For example, this is a glass and glass is transparent, okay? If a light falls here, if a light comes to it, okay, it will pass through it. It will pass through it. We'll later see what happens actually, but it will pass through it. Means it's not returning back in the same medium. It is passing through it, okay? And if a light falls on a translucent object, then if we see through any translucent object like a butter paper, we are not seeing the object on the other side very clearly, okay? Vision is not that clear. Means some of the lights even may get refracted. The whole light, means total light rays are not passing through it. So the visibility is not clear in case of a translucent object. So this I want to say, that on the type of object, that on the basis how light treats the object, the objects can be divided into three, that is transparent object, translucent and opaque. So you should know the examples of transparent object: air, water, glass, they are all transparent. And translucent, butter paper I said, right? And many soaps are translucent ones. And opaque means highly polished surfaces like stone, like walls, they reflect the light when light falls on it. So on the basis of how light treats the object, they can be classified into three: transparent, and this you have studied in 6th, okay? Now the next one is, we'll start now, phenomena, which I told you here in case of an object or opaque object, that what happens when light falls in an opaque object. When a light falls in an opaque object, as it doesn't allow light to pass through it, what will happen? Light will reflect back in the same medium. This bouncing back of light in the same medium from where it is coming, that is called as reflection. So we'll start now. Reflection, right? It's a phenomenon of light in which the light bounce back, returns back in the same medium from where it is coming. That is called as reflection. So I'll write it is returning back of light in the same medium, after striking an highly polished surface or an opaque object, right? A highly polished surface even may reflect the light. Okay, so this is reflection. Now let's see through a diagram. Mirror is a very good reflector. Mirrors are very good reflector. Let this be a mirror M dash. Okay, and you know the one side of mirror is highly polished. Okay, so this side of a mirror is a highly polished surface. Now if through any source of light you make light to fall on it at any point, okay, this point where it falls, that point is called as point of incidence. This point O I am writing. The point where light falls on a surface, that point is called as point of incidence. So O is point of incidence, right? Point of incidence. Okay. Now, and it's a ray of light, and ray is having, means we have to show direction, in which direction it is moving, right? So from here to here it's moving. Now the point at which it falls, what will happen? It's an opaque object, it's highly polished surface, it will not allow light to pass through it. What will happen? It will reflect back. Okay, so it will reflect back, but can it reflect in any in any direction? क्या ये ऐसे जा सकता है? क्या ये ऐसे जा सकता है? क्या ये ऐसे जा सकता है? किस path पे जाएगा? Whether it will follow this one or this one or this one or this one, right? That is the actual point. So the rule is that the point at which the light falls, this point is called as point of incidence. Okay, and if I'll make a perpendicular at this surface, which is called a normal. This is normal at the point of incidence. What is normal? It is perpendicular at the point of incidence. What is normal? How will you define normal? It is perpendicular at the point of incidence. Okay, that is 90 degree. It makes angle of 90. Okay, then the angle which the incident ray makes with the normal is the angle of incidence, and this ray is a incident ray. The ray, the ray which is coming and falling on any object, that ray is called as incident ray. Okay, so it is incident ray. This is incident ray. This one is a normal. This one is a normal perpendicular to a surface at the point of incidence, that is normal. The angle which the incident ray makes with the normal is called as angle of incidence. So what is angle I? Angle I is angle of incidence. Angle I is angle of incidence, right? The ray is incident ray. The angle is angle of incidence. The angle which the incident ray makes with the normal, that angle is called as angle of incidence. And this ray, the ray which is returning back, is a reflected ray. This ray is a reflected ray. Okay, this ray is a reflected ray, and the angle which this reflected ray makes with the normal, this angle is called as angle of reflection. So angle R is angle of reflection. This is angle of reflection. Okay, now this light also follows certain laws, as in case when the vehicles are moving on a road, they have to follow certain rules there. Road rules they have to follow. Which direction they have to move, where to move, how much speed they have to follow, right? So that is the rules they have to follow while they are on a road. The same way as the drivers, they have to follow certain rules, road rules. The same way light also when moves follows certain rules. So this is first rule. Why I am saying that this is the only, which ray will be the reflected ray? That ray which is making the same angle with the angle of incidence. है ना? एक ऐसा ray, if this will be the reflected ray, okay, अगर हम मान लेते हैं कि ये होगा reflection ray, so this angle will be much greater than this one. But the law says that angle I should be equal to angle R. So this is the appropriate reflected ray. Means the ray reflects back, making an angle with normal equal to that of the angle of incidence. Okay? So this angle, that is angle R, should be equal to angle I. This is the first law of reflection. This is the law of reflection, that whenever light reflects from any object, the first law it follows is that angle of incidence is always equal to angle of reflection. So you have to write in statement. The question may be asked, write the laws of reflection. So you have to write two laws there. So first law is, it's not that this is the first law. In any order you can write. But one law is that angle of I is always equal to angle of R. If you are not able to write this statement, you can write like this, angle I is equal to angle R. Or it's very easy, the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. Okay? Yes. Then we'll see. So this is a plane, this is a mirror, right? This is the opaque object. This object will not allow light to pass through it. And here I have taken a mirror. Mirror is a highly polished surface. It doesn't allow light to pass through it. So if I make a light to fall on this surface, the point at which it falls is a point of incidence. Then from that point of incidence, as it cannot move in this direction, as it cannot enter that object, it has to return back. Okay, but while returning, it has to follow certain law, and we have observed that if at this point of incidence I will make a normal, अगर हम normal बनाते हैं, so the angle which incident ray makes for the normal is angle of incidence, and the reflected ray should be such that the angle which it makes with the normal should be equal to the angle which the incident ray is making with the normal. Okay, so this is the reflected ray. This will be reflected ray if this angle is equal to this angle. Okay, so this is the first law. Now let's see, हम दूसरा law भी देख लेते हैं कि what is the second law. So you can define all the 4 points now. Incident ray, you should be able to define which is incident ray, a coming ray, a ray which is coming and falling on the object. That ray is called the incident ray. What define reflected ray? The ray which returns back after striking an object, that is called as reflected ray. Define angle of incidence. The angle which the incident ray makes with the normal is called angle of incidence. Define angle of reflection. The angle which the reflected ray makes with the normal is angle of reflection. Define normal. Normal is perpendicular to a surface at the point of incidence. O is what? It's a point of incidence. Okay. So it is a perpendicular at the point of incidence, that is called normal. So first law we have studied that angle I is always equal to angle R. Okay. Now, what's the second law that a light follows when it moves? Okay. The second law is that the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray at the point of incidence all lie on the same plane. It's all is lying in the same plane. That is the second law. So this three lines, where it falls, it is on the same plane. ऐसा नहीं है कि A जो है वो इस plane पे आ रही है. Means incident ray जो है, the plane is this one, and इसका plane जो है वो कहीं दूर है, पीछे की तरफ है, या कहीं आगे की तरफ है. It's on the same plane. Okay. So the incident ray, the normal. This is the second law. The second law is about rays, and one law is about angles. In first law, we have studied that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So we were talking about angles there. And in second, I am telling about you only about the rays. That incident ray, the three rays here. The incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray at the point of incidence all lie on the same plane. All lie on the same plane. So first law, laws of reflection, I will write here now and diagram side में बना लेंगे, right? So, when light falls on any object, on any opaque object, it reflects and reflection of light follows certain laws. So what are the laws of reflection, right? Laws of reflection. First is, in short, I can write angle of incidence is always equal to angle of reflection, and this you can elaborate also. The angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. The second is about the rays, and the three rays are the incident ray, the incident ray, the reflected ray, the reflected ray, and the normal, at the point of incidence, at the point of incidence, at the point of incidence, all lie, at the point of incidence, all lie in the same plane. Their plane is same plane. Okay, so this is second law. So these are the two laws of reflection, and then tomorrow we'll study about the means how the nature of images that is forming. We'll study the type of images that is formed when light falls. Okay, bye.